The following video will provide an overview of how to set the side switch or toggle switch. The video also includes a brief overview of the new control center found in iOS 7. By the end of this video, you should be able to set the side or toggle switch to the function you desire, as well as have a basic understanding of how to work Control Center. Alright, in this video, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the specifics of what the toggle switch or the side switch does, and the new Control Center that's in iOS 7. Obviously, if you've had an iPhone or an iPad for a while, you were probably pretty comfortable with the interface and the operating system. But as of Tuesday, September the 18th, or Wednesday, whenever that was, all I know is on September the 18th, a pretty drastic change came to the iPhone and the iPad. The good thing is that a lot of it is cosmetic. Most of you that have been using an iPhone or an iPad for a while aren't going to miss a beat. You'll kind of have to get used to the way things are done a little differently with a few applications. But it's pretty easy to figure out if you've been using one. And if you've never used one, then you don't have the learning curve anyway. Between the two operating systems. This is just brand new for you, and it may even turn out easier since you're not having to kind of unlearn the way we used to do things. But I do want to go over a couple things because some of these features will be very useful to you and even in your classroom. And so let's jump in here and get started. We do have the wonderful opportunity to learn together because iOS 7 was not publicly available until September the 18th, so none of us had it before that. So anyway, let's take a look first at this side switch now, and that's what I called the toggle switch, and we saw that in our first video. You have the option to set that as either a lock switch or a mute switch. Okay, and it's very easy to change that and very easy to set it to the way that you would like. So let's first get to this by doing this. Start at the bottom of your screen. Now, it doesn't matter if you're holding your iPad in landscape or portrait mode, it'll still work the same. But you're going to touch the black bezel underneath the screen and hold your finger down and kind of slide up. You're just going to use that gesture of swiping up. And you will see what's known as the Control Center pop up. Now, this is one of the things that's different in iOS 7 compared to previous versions of iOS. And when I say iOS, to those of you that are new, that's just Apple's operating system for their iDevices, whether it's iPhone, iPad, iPod. So that's why it's called iOS. But you have actually some welcome changes here. You have more control in this version than you did before. But if you will look in the dead center, you will see 5 round icons. The one on the left is a little airplane. That's where we'll start. That's where you cut your airplane mode on or off. Now, if you cut airplane mode on, and I can't do it right now because it would kill my Wi-Fi signal that I'm using to mirror my screen. But if you cut airplane mode on, it's going to kill any type of connection you have to it. It'll kill Bluetooth, it'll kill Wi-Fi, or if you have, for instance, cellular service, if you happen to have one of the iPads where you had Verizon or AT&T, which none of the school ones do, so don't be like, I don't have that. I'm just saying if you had that on a personal one, when you cut airplane mode on, it's going to kill any connection. And you could still use the device to listen to music or even to manipulate and use a lot of different apps. But that really they call it airplane mode because if you've ever flown, you know that as you're taking off and landing, they instruct you to cut all of your devices off. And next to that is your Wi-Fi icon, and that would be where you could just cut Wi-Fi on or off without having to go into the menu. Besides that is Bluetooth. It all looks like a crazy shaped B. And next to that is Do Not Disturb. Now that's a relatively new feature that came in on the tail end of the last version of Apple's operating system, but it allows you to just cut that on at night if you want as you're going to sleep, and it'll block text messages or anything like that or emails from coming through until you wake up in the morning. And you can kind of go in through settings and manipulate that and work with that if you so choose. You could also read the user guide. It has a pretty good section on how to use Do Not Disturb. But we're looking at that icon, especially there at the end on the right. And right now you see that it looks like a little bell with a line through it. Okay. whatever's there is opposite of what you've got your toggle or side switch selected to do. For instance, if my side switch is set to work as the lock function, then this is going to work as the mute function. You'll see me cutting mute on and off. If you look at the screen right now, you'll see where it's changing. And then if I use my side switch, you can't see me clicking, but you can see the icon popping up that shows it's unlocked. And now I'm going to lock it, and you see that icon with a padlock locked. Okay, so whatever the side switch is, it's going to be the opposite in Control Center. Now let me show you how to select the one you want. It's pretty easy. You would just go to Settings, and you want to go down to the General tab. And under that General tab, and you'll see me scroll up, I'm going to scroll up to where it says Use Side Switch To. And I can select that to work as a lock rotation or as mute. Alright, I want you to watch what happens. If I have it set to lock rotation and I pull my Control Center up, you see my mute button as the last round icon on the right there. But if I go back and change my side switch to mute, when I open Control Center again, you see that it's defaulted to the lock. So just for your side switch, I would suggest putting the one that you use the most. I lock my iPad and unlock it frequently, so that is why I leave my side switch selected to lock rotation. So that's all there is to setting that. And since we've mentioned Control Center in this video, I did want to go ahead and do a quick tutorial on that. When you open Control Center back up, just slide that up from the bottom of your screen. You have the 5 options in the center we've already discussed. Well, at the bottom left, you have a volume switch. So you can quickly adjust your volume. And you have a brightness switch over on the bottom right. Now, since I'm using a Wi-Fi signal to mirror my device, you can't see my screen dimming or brightening. But if you're trying that on your iPad as you watch the video, you see the obvious effect. Okay? Now, right here is the AirPlay switch. Now, right now, mine is showing Jason's MacBook Pro because I'm connected. That's how I'm mirroring my screen. And that's what you're going to be using to mirror your screen in your classroom through AirServer. So yours would say AirPlay, and you would just tap on it, and you would select the device. I wanted to connect to Jason's MacBook Pro, and then I turned mirroring on. You would be able to connect to your classroom computer and cut mirroring on, and if your projector's fired up at that point, then you're now mobile and able to walk around the classroom and mirror whatever you're doing from your iPad to your projector screen or onto your interactive whiteboard. Okay, and there'll be separate tutorials for that, but that's just a brief overview. AirDrop, there will be a separate tutorial for, but you can manipulate cutting it on and off through your Control Center. Now, this is where you share files between other devices. Now, mind you, you can definitely share files with AirDrop with teachers with using these iPads, but it will only work if you wanted to share with someone with an iPhone if they have the iPhone 5 or later. Any previous version of the iPhone will not handle AirDrop. It's probably the type of antenna that's in there. I know that's frustrating when sometimes those devices don't work, but the Apple just chose to make that a feature in iPhone 5 or higher. And up at the top, obviously, you can start playing or stopping music. I don't have any music installed in my... Yes, I do. There's some Guns N' Roses popping up. Okay? I forgot that when I set this up, some music pulled over already. So anyway, that's where you could, go from song to song, and you could, play it, pause it from right there. And on the right-hand side, you have the timer icon. If you select that, it will open up a timer. It's a pretty neat feature for a classroom. If you want to give the kids 30 seconds to answer, or give them 30 seconds of think time, or you even want to time them on a test for 5 minutes, you can do so. Because if you go into the timer, that's there, and you have a stopwatch, you have an alarm you could set off, and then there's even a world clock that you could even tie into history classes. Alright, so going back to the Control Center, the last icon we haven't discussed is the camera. And that just means if you want to take a quick snapshot, you can slide up from the bottom and access your photos there rather quickly, access your camera rather quickly. And then over there you can choose between whether you want to record a video or a photo. But that's really it. That's a tutorial on setting your side switch, your toggle switch, and an overview of the Control Center, which is pretty neat. especially if you've been a previous user of Apple devices. We have a little bit more control here to some of the functions that we need the most.